Babel, movie review. So this is another scripted movie review in which I go through my blog archives to make a YouTube video out of an old review. I mention that again because this is maybe one of those movies that was big at the time and then has largely been forgotten since then, or I don't know. Do people still talk about this movie? Let me know. Right, this movie, I was living in Japan in 2007, and this movie was really big news in 2007 inside of Japan, because there's a Japanese actress in this movie, Rinko Kikuchi, who had been nominated for an Academy Award. I don't think she won, I don't remember. But the fact that she was nominated was big news in Japan. It's always big news when a Japanese person kind of makes it big in America. Also, the fact that Brad Pitt was in this movie probably didn't hurt it at all. Brad Pitt is very popular in Japan. So yeah, I was living in Japan, but I actually saw it in the US. I was back for a couple weeks visiting some friends and family, and a friend and I rented this movie and we watched it together. This movie is a lot like some of these other movies. Crash, Traffic, Syriana. In fact, the style was so similar that I thought it's got to be made by the same people who have been making some of these other movies. But apparently not. I don't know. Maybe they collaborated on something. But I was looking at Wikipedia, and I don't think it was made by the same people. But it's the same kind of movie, same kind of directing style, same kind of storytelling, and the same idea of having four separate stories that are kind of loosely connected with each other, but they all have different stories but similar themes. In this case, the similar theme is kind of language difficulties, hence the title of the movie, Babel. At least I think that's supposed to be the theme, because actually some of these stories are less directly connected with language than with others. There are a number of points in this movie where the characters do things which do not make any logical sense at all. So I was watching this with a buddy, and throughout the movie we just kind of turned to each other numerous times and said, now why doesn't he just do this instead of that? Or this doesn't make any sense. If she would only do this, then all her problems would be over. So it's kind of one of those kind of movies where you kind of get frustrated with the screenwriting a little bit and want to yell at the characters. A good portion of this movie does take place in Japan and deals with language difficulties. Having lived in Japan for several years and having studied Japanese, I was kind of expecting for my Japanese to kind of come into play here. But actually, the parts in Japan are dealing with kind of a deaf girl who communicates by sign language in Japan. So actually, there was a little bit of Japanese in this movie, but it was kind of mostly a lot of kind of signing among the kind of deaf community. Which, interesting little factoid, did you know sign language is different in Japan and in America? I always used to assume that, sign language was the same the world over, but it's not. There are different sign language communities. So American Sign Language and Japanese Sign Language are completely different. That has nothing to do with the movie, or at least you could enjoy the movie perfectly fine without knowing that. That's just a little extra fun fact for you. I've been in Japan long enough, and I've been watching enough Japanese movies that I'm beginning to kind of recognize some of these actors, although it took me a while. But Rinko Kikuchi, who played the deaf girl, was also in 69, another Japanese movie I've reviewed on this channel. And then the dad is a guy called Koji Yakusho, and he's been in a number of Japanese movies. He was in Memoirs of a Geisha. But he was also in The Choice of Hercules, another Japanese movie I've reviewed on this channel. So yeah, some of the same kind of actors popping up, but that would be true of Hollywood as well. Yeah. Anyways, if you saw this movie, let me know what you thought about it. It was a popular movie at the time, but do people still talk about this movie, or has it been completely forgotten since then?